The Tim Heale Thirsty Thursday live stream from 7 until 9 weekly. Here's your host, Tim Heale.
Bugger, I've done it again. I don't believe I've done it again. That's 2 weeks in a row. 2 weeks, I can't believe. Oh, how long have I been going? I don't believe I've done that again. What a muppet. I can only apologise. Did you want me to run through that again, or did you get the gist from I should have looked at the comments. I didn't look at the comments. I was so concentrated in bringing the right all over the place. I'm Alice Uber to Platts tonight. I think it's because it's so warm. I don't know what it's like where you are, but it must be about 56 degrees in here. Gas mark 10, I think. So, yeah, thanks, thanks, Keith. Right, okay, without further ado, we'll cover the subjects as we go through. I'll remind you of what's coming up in the weeks to come. So, oh dear, what a clown. Here we go. Anyway, my first guest tonight, she's coming all the way over she's going to apparate in. So, are you ready for this? Welcome, Crystal.
Hi.
I saw you waving.
I was like, Tim, you're Mike.
Oh, no.
Hello.
I've done it again. That's 2 weeks on the trot. This time I didn't have it muted. I had the slider. I was going to push the slider up when we were ready to go. Problem is, I've got to work out a way of killing the mic while the intro's coming in, and then come in with it.
Right. It happens to the best of us, right?
Oh no, but 2 weeks in the trot.
Sometimes it takes repetition to make us remember what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, there are two ways of learning. There's the easy way and the hard way, and I think I've just learned the hard way. 2 weeks on the trot.
You won't do it next week. You will not do it next week.
I won't do it next week. Next week. So just remind people that next week I'm just trying to sort out what we're going to do. It's going to be another open forum, but I'm going to have a Q&A. We're going to do a Q&A next week, and it will be on all sorts of different topics. Some of it might be military orientated because I know a little bit about the military, but I'll get a normal panel of experts in, people that we love and are like. So next week Q&A. So Crystal, if you can just give us a quick heads up on we had a chat the other night. So Crystal's going to tell us a quick bit about what she does.
So I am a writer, teacher, life coach, and a podcaster. I have a podcast called Breathe In, Breathe Out, and it's all about mindfulness, meditation, and coming to your authentic you. And a lot of the way we do that is through self-care, radical self-ownership, and just moving forward in life more confident in who you are for real. Let's get rid of the masks. Let's get rid of the boxes that everybody else put us in and start living authentically.
Wow. So you're going to be able to add some value to this evening's. So let's bring in our next guest. So without too much further ado, we're going to bring in an old mate who's also a podcaster, by the way. So here we go, Chris. Welcome, Chris. How you doing?
Hi,
mate?
Tim. I'm not too bad, thank you. Not too bad. I've done the microphone thing more times than I care to count. More times than I've got fingers. So put it that way. So yeah, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that.
I'm not the only idiot in the room then.
You're not an idiot, Tim. It's the pressure and the heat. That's all it is.
I've been doing great today. I mean, I've put up several posts just to sort of to invite people into tonight's live stream to ask the questions and stuff like that, and to watch. And it looks like we've got a few people up there watching already, which is fantastic.
Oh, good.
And I'm sure they're going to get involved in the evening and ask some questions.
Yeah, it's a nice active chat,
things.
so hi to chat.
Yeah. So, Chris, if you can tell us a little bit about what you do and how you're involved with us tonight.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm a podcaster also. I'm in the podcast fam. My podcast is called Chatty Geek Hidden Dragon. We're a mental health podcast as well. Hi, Eagle VP, by the way. So we do kind of we talk to people from all walks of life. It doesn't matter what they're into. So hence the geeky side of things. And we try and get people from everywhere just to talk about mental health. So that we can share conversations happening, just to let people know that everybody, wherever they're from, experiences mental health weather, as I like to call it. So yeah, that's what I do. I've got a Buddhist background for 20 plus years, so I'm also mindfulness and meditation. I'm also into that as well. I've got a martial arts background as well for over 20 years. All of this as well. And mental health is a key basic principle of what I do. It's really important. It affects every decision we make, and which then causes further repercussions. So it's so important. So that's why I'm here.
Brilliant. Thanks, Chris.
No problem.
I'm not going to get mixed up with you in a dark alley at night.
Oh yeah, I'm the safest person to get mixed up with in a dark alley. Trust me, I'm the friend. I'll just give you a cuddle. It'd be fine.
Yeah, that's like. Is that like the sort of the ninja?
Yeah, ninja cuddle. It's a secret move. I can't really show you it yet.
Brilliant. Right, let's bring in one more guest. So without too much of ado, we're going to invite Marsha into the chat. Hey, Marsha.
Hello, how are you?
I'm hot and stressed and under pressure.
Breathe. It's all good. We've all done it. I know how many times, even recording, there have been times I started a podcast and like, did I record? Oh, I stopped recording. All good.
Yeah. But 2 weeks on the trot.
We can all relate.
So Marsha, if you can just give us a quick brief on, because we had a chat as well the other day.
Yes, we did. I'm grateful to be here. My name is Marsha Van Weinsberg, and I am in Ontario, Canada. And we finally have a little bit of a break in the heat. We were in that like insanely hot. So it's a little bit of a break right now. I am a speaker, a 2 times podcaster. I have 2 podcasts, and multi-published author when it comes to really teaching people how to share stories, how to share vulnerable stories, how to really get your story out there and use that as a source of support for others to show what is possible. I so resonate with everything that you're all saying. And Crystal, when it comes down to it, I was listening going, yep, my podcast is called Own Your Choices, Own Your Life. Radical responsibility is a big part of my platform. And I've navigated through a number of mental health, substance abuse challenges, family, so many different things that it led me into this path of sharing my story and then helping others to do the same. I really want to normalize the topics that we don't want to talk about.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the key messages that we can put out tonight is it's okay to not be okay. Let's work on destigmatizing mental health, because we at some stage in our lives we all have a blip. Some have more blips than others. So, what are we going to start off as? Let's open up. Let's make it easy to start with. So, let's just say good evening to everybody out there that's watching, and if they can just click that little like button just to let us know that, or the little heart button, even better. Let us know that you love us and you're going to enjoy what we're doing tonight. So, mental health first aid. There's courses that you can do for mental health first aid here in the UK. I first did it when I was in the British Army, in my last job, and as part of a welfare officer, part of a welfare team, we took part in this. It was a pilot scheme at the time for mental health first aid, and it's all about looking after yourself, looking after your own mental well-being, because if you're mentally robust yourself, you're able to help others better. And the last thing you want to do is if you're suffering with your own mental health, you're going to find it difficult to help anybody else. So it's all about looking after oneself. So who wants to open up on that one then? Come on, don't be shy.
I know.
It's like being at school, isn't it? Who wants to be the first?
Yeah. Right, this is going to be interactive.
I will go. Someone's going to go, right? I'll go.
Well done, Marsha.
All right.
Come to the front of the class.
Yeah, that's probably very true. Okay. So the piece on taking care of ourselves first, it's seen for a long time that that's selfish to put ourselves first. It is, especially, I'm going to say, as parents, moms, in a space of, I'll get to me later. I'll get to me, like, I don't have time to even think about what I'm thinking. When it's like, what are you thinking? What do you need help with? It's like, I don't even know right now. I'm just trying to get to the next thing and the next thing. And I think that all of us have been in that space where we have, we say you move yourself to the back burner. And there just came a point where I wasn't even on the back burner anymore. Like, I wasn't even on the stove. It wasn't even I was off the stove, not even thinking about myself. I think that we all continue on that path until life throws us enough of a challenge that we can't do that anymore either, or we can't be here. And that's literally what was happening for myself, as I was in a space that trying to take care of everyone else and fix and manage and control and do all of the things. And none of it was working anyways. And I was losing myself in the process. And that's when it was like, I still remember to this day, a counselor's words were, if you don't find a way to be a springboard in your life, if they come back, if people need support, you can't help anyone else because there's nothing left to you anymore. And as harsh as those words were, I needed to hear them. And so I think that's why we struggle in making time for ourselves, because until life gives us a challenge to recognize how important it is to put ourselves first, I don't think that most of us tend to.
I want to echo everything you just said. And then I want to add that this is something I said to Tim the other day. Your cell phone has to be plugged in or it cannot work. Mm-hmm. Your car needs gas or it cannot run. Mm-hmm. You are the same thing. You are a finite resource and your energy will run out and you will be in burnout and you will find yourself depressed and exhausted and unable to function because you failed to plug yourself in. You failed to recognize that you have a need and you are valid and worthy of having that need filled. And it doesn't matter what gender, what sex you are, whether you're in the workforce and bringing home the bacon, whether you're at home, no matter what it is, there is this societal expectation that we all sacrifice ourselves in the name of other people, which is absolutely bull honky, and we need to get rid of it. We need to destigmatize the idea that a break is a weakness and recognize that taking a break is actually an unbelievable strength and a gift in, I'm taking this break because I deserve it. I need it so that I can continue doing my job, so I can continue helping take care of the kids, so I can continue whatever it is that we have to do in life. But until we destigmatize the taking a break and the self-care is selfish crap, we're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving on from that then, how do we go about taking that break? How do we move forward and let people know that we need to take a break and it's okay for us to do that? How do we get that message out there for people around us to let us take that time?
I think individually and also as part of a society, there is a responsibility for us to remove that stigma. I think it's kind of, it's our own work. We've got to do our own work, and there's only us that can. Well, maybe that's not strictly true, because we can see therapists and we can speak to friends and we can get help in that way. But generally, the work on ourselves is our own work. But yet, there is also the work of society, and as a part of society, we've got to just kind of keep asking how people are and keep the conversations going and keep talking about our own mental health and our vulnerability as well. Not kind of, it doesn't necessarily mean saying that you're weak. It means, like I say, I say that it's mental weather, because you can talk about the weather and you can say, God, what a shitty day it is out there. And that doesn't mean that it's evil weather or it's weak weather. It just means it's rainy and it's pouring, and that's just the weather doing what it needs to do. And we have, in our mind, we have the same thing. Then individually on on ourselves, I think it was Crystal that mentioned burnout, or it might have been Marsha, sorry. Sorry, but yeah, this is some. Yeah, I know, back of the class for me. But yeah, seeing the burnout is something that's real important, and I think one of the key things with being able to spot the difference is knowing the difference in yourself when it's time for a distraction and when it's time to pay attention. So sometimes it's prudent to distract yourself if it's just too much and you just need to put your mind on something else. But that can kind of be a temporary fix. It's an impermanent fix. Sometimes the time comes where we need to pay attention to what's going on. And this can be what our break is. And it's really funny. I mean, I mentioned my Buddhist background, but when we do our 10-day retreat, it's called a retreat. And you think of the word, what does retreat mean? Does it mean running away? Actually, no. Retreat means coming home in a way. It's not, you're not going away from anything. You're actually taking that time to pay attention to yourself in the solitary environment, and you're paying attention to what's going on. And that is the self-care. And the more regular you do that, it doesn't have to be for 10 days. It can be for 5 minutes. You can, set a timer at three times of the day. Set yourself a 10 o'clock or a 3 o'clock to take 5 minutes. Watch your breath for a little bit. Just ask yourself, Chris, what's going on now? And that can be enough just to set that habit of, am I burning out? Do I need to distract myself? Has something really got me worked up? Or do I need to really pay attention to what's going on there? That's as far as I'm going to go for now. I'll let someone else speak.
No, I loved it. And I absolutely agree. You. And it is a very human experience. Nobody knows what you're going through. We all have our own individual issues and challenges to deal with, and nobody knows that you need a break. Nobody knows that you skipped lunch so that you could continue doing something else. Nobody knows that you need a nap unless you actually verbalize it and say, this is what I need. And it's a beautiful thing in being vulnerable, but it's also in being real. And it starts within. It starts with the self-care, and yet being the societal change. My husband and I do this thing where he says, hey, how are you? And I say, I'm fine. I give him the standard greeting, and he says, okay, that's great. How are you really? And that one question, how are you really, lets me know that he wants to know more than just the standard greeting. And if we want to be the change in society, we can do the same thing with anybody that's around us. How are you? Okay, now how are you really? Because it lets you, I'm really interested in who you are and what you're going through. I can see that you're a little down today. How are you really? Is there some way that I can help support you in this moment?
Now, that's a really good point. That's something I was going to bring up a little bit later. But only do that to somebody if you have the time to listen to them. If you're just doing it, hi, how are you, and you're moving on to something else, don't ask that second part of the question. Because if you haven't got time to listen to somebody that's got issues, then they are going to feel worse. You're just going to make them feel worse, because you will make them feel as though they're worthless because you haven't got the time to invest in them.
Yeah.
So if you're going to ask that question, make sure that you've got enough time to be able to respect the person that you're asking about. Because if you don't, you could make their situation worse.
Thank you for clarifying that.
I'll put that ball in there.
Well, it's a great point, because if a person is really struggling, they could feel used to people not having time or not caring or not in that space. I think that, and I still love the question. I absolutely love the question. I think that it also comes down to, how do we do this? I think we're normalizing it. We're having the conversations. Can we recognize when we need more of something and not make it mean something? And not make it mean like, oh my gosh, I'm failing at this because I need a nap today, or because I need more sleep. It means nothing. It's the meaning that we attach to things that make it mean something about us. And we have this thing between my husband and I where he'll say something. It's like, how are you? And I'm like, I'm just off. It's an off day. I just call it an off day. He's like, is everything all right? I'm like, it's fine. I'm just off. It usually comes down to, I'm tired. I need to unplug. I need I need time for me. And if I don't catch those signs fast enough, the more I need more time for me to recover. So how can we give ourselves that permission to do that in the meantime? And yesterday I was on a call, and somebody was sharing that it takes 68 seconds to change, increase, or reset our vibration and energy. So she took us through an exercise of breathing, and it was like she timed it. And at the end of 68 seconds, I was like, oh, I feel so much better. I don't want to stop. I didn't want to stop. So the reason I share that is I think that we also underestimate what we need. We'll spend a half an hour scrolling when 68 seconds could have made such a big difference for us. So I think it's going internal, asking what we need, giving it to ourselves unapologetically, not making it mean anything. And the more we can do that, we set examples for others that they can do the same. This is normal. This is just, let's let this be normal behavior.
I love the setting examples for others.
Exactly.
I think that's a key point as well. Is it's actually recognizing in yourself that you're not 100%. You're not feeling particularly great, and you might just be under the weather. You might just be suffering the effects of COVID, for instance. However, if it's something to do with your mental side of your health, it's understanding what's going inside your own head. And lots of people just kind of ignore it. And it's that response. How are you? Yeah, I'm fine. And you're clearly not. And if you're clearly not, can you open up to the person that just asked you? And that's another thing. If somebody says, how are you? Yeah, I'm fine. And they say, how are you really? Can you open up to them? Do they have the time to invest in you? And are you comfortable talking about your problem with that person?
I think we can not worry too much, but I think we can. I think the most important thing, yes, we do the how are you really. But I think one thing is that we can do constant work on is being available for that. And sometimes it doesn't have to be. Sometimes it's really nice to ask the who are you really, and I agree with what you said, Tim, with, don't ask that if you haven't got time really for them to tell you how they actually are. However, there's other ways that we can sort of make ourselves available. And the other thing is the recognizing in yourself. Our brain is a very crafty little devil, and it's amazing how much white noise that we can actually ignore in our brain and sort of think that we're getting on with our day. I'm kind of lucky in a way because of my mental health, is that I have tics. So thankfully with my wife, she knows if she needs to ask how am I really, because I'll be doing this. So I'm all right. So I've got like a little bit of an observational tool for myself. If something's not quite right with myself, I just make fun of myself, because that is just something that I do, and it changes. Either, my arm will randomly lift in the air, and she'll think, he's having a row in his head or something, or he's, stuff's been building up, and she just needs to ask. And it's not so much sometimes it can be not so much the having to tell somebody else, but it can be enough to notice that tic. I mean, not everybody has a tic, but everybody can look at that white noise and see if they can see what it is. And sometimes, can we think of a way? So here's a question: can we think of a way, rather than saying how are you really and making them vocalize to a person who they may not really feel that comfortable sharing, but how can we kind of gently, as a person who cares and has a person who is available, how can we encourage people to look inside and see perhaps if something may be there that needs attention rather than distraction? Do we think? Just curious.
Well,
I'm wondering.
While we're thinking, I just want to give a quick shout out to some people that's clicked the like buttons. So Craig Morris, thanks. Di, Richard and Sue, thank you very much for clicking the heart button. And Graham, love you, mate. Thanks for the care. So anybody else that's out there, feel free to click that like button. It doesn't cost you nothing, and it just makes us feel warm and cosy.
Where do we need to point, Tim? Is it over there or over there?
I don't know where it is. It's somewhere.
It's over there.
And if you've got a question for us, pop it in the chat box. That doesn't cost anything either, and it doesn't cost anything to subscribe to any of our channels.
Yeah. Yeah, please do engage.
So why we quick opportunity, why we've got this thinking. I'm just going to announce a couple of upcoming episodes. So we're already on today's, which is, where's it gone? Oh no, click that one there. Got a rugby special coming up on the 1st of September. So any of the old rugby players out there want to come and join in this one, we're going to look at a regimental rugby for the weekend, and then we're going to look at the Premiership that's coming up. And I think it's going to be quite an exciting one, especially some of the antics that's been going on with some of the clubs and, shall we say, pay. And then on the 8th of September, I've got an archaeological special, and I've got some real specialists coming in to talk about archaeology, and that's going to be fascinating. Last week was on History Week down here in Portsmouth and Gosport, and I was working with these guys from Wessex Archaeology, and the marine archaeology is fascinating. When they were doing the dredging of Portsmouth Harbour for the carriers, they were bringing up all sorts of artefacts, and it's those guys that identify and one thing and another. So that's going to be a pretty good one to watch out for. And then I've got another big special coming up at the end of September, just before we go off to Ride to the Wall, which is about 8,000 or 9,000 veteran motorcyclists all riding up to the National Memorial Arboretum in Staffordshire. And I want to concentrate on particularly veterans' mental health and the alarming suicide rate of veterans at the moment. It's unprecedented. There are 2, 3, 4, 5 a week veterans taking their own lives, and we need to do something about it. And that needs addressing fairly urgently. And I think you guys out there can help us identify that problem. So that's the specials that's coming up. Right, back to tonight. So we've had some thinking time. To get a question.
Has anyone got the answer?
I think there are many answers.
Yeah, of course.
So, what was I doing? I've lost the plot. Where am I going? What am I doing?
No, the question was, how do we encourage people to
That's it.
check in if they're not ready to open up to somebody that they don't really know, or they maybe not feel fully comfortable in that moment, and they recognize that, yeah, something's off and I really don't want to talk about it right now. Are you able to verbalize that? Generally speaking, when we're in that space, when we are dealing with an issue, we don't really have the ability to say, I don't know about you guys, but I don't necessarily have the ability to say, just don't talk to me right now or leave me alone, because I'm so I really go internal. I very much retreat into myself and say, I'm just surviving. I'm doing what I can. And for me, it works when my husband says, how are you really? And yet I have noticed people who say, they're like, I'm getting through. If they give me that kind of an answer the second time I ask, I often just let them know, I'm here for you. If you find that you need something, or if you find that you need to talk, I am absolutely open and able and ready. I will make the time to be there for you. You just let me know. I just let them know that it's an open offer. It's an open invitation, because sometimes we have to get out of those woods just a little bit before we can accept the offer from someone else.
Yeah. There you go, Tony. Yes, the topic is self-care, and it's all about identifying in oneself if you're having problems, and we're going to look at where you can go to get some help. So there you go. Yeah. So where can we go to find that help? What improvements can we do in the mental health area? So we've got some things coming in now.
That's a really big question.
That is a big question.
Yeah.
I guess the first thing you've got to do is identify that you've got the problem, and it'll be your problem. It won't be anybody else's. And then once you've identified you've got a problem, where do you go to get some help? How's the best way of going forward with help?
So this is a tricky one, because I think that when you are dealing, I've had very close people I've dealt with mental health. They can be in a point where it is, it's scary. It's a very unknown, volatile time. If they were, for them to decide that they are at a point where they need help, sometimes that doesn't happen, because they don't see it as a problem, or they don't see it as, or it's the mindset of no one gets me, because obviously there's something wrong with me. So part of me, and I don't know the answer. I'm not a mental health expert. I also I think we have to be mindful with labels that because I do believe mental health affects every single person in some way, shape, or form in their life. So I really like to steer clear of labeling it as a problem. And the second part of this that's a challenge is, I believe that a lot of, depending on where you are in the world, all I can comment in is from Canada right now. And in Ontario, our healthcare system has taken a major hit from the pandemic. And where we did not have a lot of available resources before, we have far less now. And so I think that gets even harder, because we've been in a position where we've had to look and search for resources for a family member. And it was really hard to find then. And then you get them to that point and they have to 100% consent to be there. Or they then can be in a space it's like, well, we can get your doctor's appointment in 2 weeks, or we can get you to, and I'm like, okay, no, it's this crisis now. So I don't have an easy answer that way. What I can say is that from Ontario, Canada, we have a number of crisis hotlines that, in my opinion, have been instrumentally helpful at critical times, like beyond helpful. So I am grateful for those sources of support, because we all know that people don't struggle with problems between 9 and 5 or 9 and 4 p.m. And that's just not when things happen. The crisis points happen in the middle of the night. They happen on the weekends when people are even more isolated. So I know those resources, I can speak firsthand, have been incredibly helpful.
Just want to put up a quick comment that Tony's Coffee's House has put up. Thank you very much, Tony.
Yeah.
We've done our best to get a knowledgeable and very, very knowledgeable panel together.
I'd like to jump in on that answer if you don't mind. Thanks, Tony. The improvement that I think has to happen is, no matter where you are in the world, is this societal destigmatization of mental health. And it starts with each individual saying, it's okay, I'm depressed. It's okay, I'm struggling. It's okay that things are not optimal in this moment. The more that we talk about it, the more that we acknowledge that it is real, that every single human being deals with it on some level throughout their lives. The easier it is to talk about, the easier it is to find help, because more people are openly searching for it. I also believe that waiting until we're in crisis is not necessarily the time to find the doctor that we can talk to. I think that if we shop around, I'm air quoting, shop around for a talk doc, a counselor, someone that we can go to with issues before we're in crisis, that when we are in crisis, you've already got that relationship. You've already got somebody that you can go talk to, because you have destigmatized the fact that you struggle and just need somebody to talk to. We can do that work if we decide that we're worth it and it's not a bad thing to need a little help. Every single one of us needs help.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Me included. I need loads of help, particularly on a Thursday.
We all do. We all do. Yeah. For England, so for the UK, Tim, I think so. Basically, it kind of boils down to knowing how to recognise, knowing where to go, and knowing that there's no shame in actually going to that place or to that resource. I know that Mind, the mental health charity, they're trying to push the government to fund the Fund the Hubs campaign, which is making sure that there is a place available at schools for children. And it's a mental health hub. It's going to be like a government provided hub, which is going to be a safe place for students to go. At that age, it affects the male and female students differently, but it's a very, very volatile time for a child, with the pressure of what they've got to achieve at school, plus the pressure of just knowing how to be a social person and how they work. You have people, kids test out bullying just to see how it works out for them, and this is just the cruel nature of the way life is, and the people, unfortunately, that are on the receiving end and want to get out of it. It affects the people that befriend the bullies, and they see the bully, and it affects them as well. So they don't have anywhere to go, so they're kind of stuck with being stuck with the confused kid who's trying to test out the bullying mechanic and things like that. Yes, I think there is a massive shortage when it comes to the resources that are available. I think that seems to be a global problem, essentially. But again, I think my attention just needs to be probably hitting the school age. I think it's interesting to me that we make PE, we make physical education, a compulsory subject for schools. Primary school and secondary school, you hit third year secondary school. I know it's different years now because I'm you know, I'm getting ancient, even though I don't look it yet. But we have, when I was a senior school, it was like first year, second year, third year. Now it's year 7, 8, 9. So when you get to year 9, you have to take your options. So you pick which subjects you're going to do. But PE, you got no choice in it. You got to do PE. So there should be a mental health group that is compulsory for kids to be encouraged and to destigmatize, essentially, for when they get out of school, to know this isn't a strange thing, because I've been talking about my mental health and the crap that I've had to go through and the stuff that I've seen at school, and I've talked about it with a group, and now I know that there's no shame in it. And now out in the real world at work, and now I know I can talk to my colleagues about it. And I think another one of the problems we get is going back to what Marcia was saying. When you're going through a mental health, I don't want to say it when you're going through a mental health, when you're suffering from bad weather, you take the bad weather as the world that you're in. You're not able to separate from it. And so sometimes it's not so much the fact that there is shame in admitting that there's something going on. It's that sometimes we're not able to separate the fact that there's the world that we're in and the situation that we're in and the problems that we have. But then there's the mental health associated with it and the kind of separate things in a way, but we're not able to see it as being separate from the situation that we're in. So when we're going through massive depression, we think, talking personally from personal experience, we think that this world that I am in is massively depressing. Mm-hmm. It's not the fact that, okay, I'm in a bit of a shitty situation now and I'm depressed about it. It's I'm stuck in this massively depressing world and I need to get out of it, or, you know, there's no way out. There's no point me talking to anyone because it's just a depressing world. And it's not that's the case. It's the fact that I'm depressed about the world at the minute, or I'm depressed about my situation, and it's not necessarily the same thing. So getting that message out, I think, is something that will help improve as well.
Chris, that's fantastic. Like, I think that's great advice. I love the whole mental weather, like just the way you've simplified that. I think it's so valuable for so many people. And I love the concept that it needs to be something that's talked about at a much younger age. When I often think of, for example, like even in our position, there are times I wish that we could openly have kids see a counselor or a therapist from a young age to normalize that it's okay. Like I've seen one multiple times in my life and at very big crisis times. And so because we don't talk even about that, it seems like there must be something wrong if you're doing that. I think we could normalize that from a very young age, that it's like, this is what you're feeling. Those feelings are normal. It's normal. And this is something that you could do to support yourself. So I think introducing that at a younger age just normalizes more of this approach.
Yeah, definitely.
And that can be in the school system. It can be in the home. It can be on so many different levels where kids are exposed to the fact that it's okay to have any kind of mental weather, and let's express it instead of hide it, because emotions have historically been something that we all tamp down and hide instead of sharing. This is where I'm at right now. I'm feeling a little sad. I'm feeling a little depressed. I'm feeling a little stuck and frustrated, whatever that is that we're in. A lot of us have been taught to smooth it over, add a little sugar coating, and not fully express where we're at and how we are. And that does a disservice to us and our kids and our grandkids. And in general, it just keeps perpetuating that cycle of anything that's not I'm fine is not right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Tony's coffee house has just popped in another one. Have a read of that.
Life vision.
Mm-hmm.
Counsellors and a strong education for teachers. I don't know what you guys have seen about teachers recently, but what they're teaching in schools isn't what they taught us back in the day. I think they are far too leftist. They're in just take the climate crisis. The climate's always happened. These climate activists, I'm just going off script slightly, but there's a point to this. The climate activists just focus in on the bit that they can, what do you call it? They can, lost the word. That they can make it really, really sort of a crisis. But if you speak to an actual environmentalist who looks at a longer picture, they can dispel everything that these climate activists are coming out with. And the climate has, ever since the planet's been here, ever since Earth's been evolved, has had these cycles. And we're just going through a cycle of development. You look at last summer, particularly in the UK, was wet and miserable for most of it. You go back to 1976 when we last had a heat wave similar to this. I mean, the one back then lasted, I think it was about 7 or 8 weeks. And it was like this for 7 or 8 weeks. But we didn't have the climate activists saying that we're all doomed, that the world's coming to an end, we're going to fry ourselves.
They were there.
The winter coming. All right, we might have a dry winter this year, but next summer we might be soaking wet again. So what they're teaching kids in school is the doom and gloom, the crisis that they're all going to die before they get old. And I think that's one of the things that they need to educate the educators, because they are giving the wrong information to our kids. They are giving them leftist thoughts that they're not going to grow up to have a life, and that in itself is going to damage them. And what they've gone through in the last 2 years, I mean, you imagine in a class, when they did manage to go to school and they're like that, and all they've seen is a teacher like that, they're all muzzled up. You're not seeing facial expressions. There's a couple of years worth of kids that have gone through not being able to pick up on facial expressions, not being able to speak correctly because they can't see people's mouths moving and stuff like that. And that's going to come back and bite us in years to come. So, the point I'm trying to make is that the education in schools needs to change from the narrative that they're trying to push at the moment. So, they need to look at what they're teaching kids about, particularly mental health first aid, to give them the tools to be able to cope with not a crisis that's going on, and they need to change that narrative.
I can't say too much about the environmental stuff because that's not my expertise. But yeah, I think teachers generally, I don't know if it's the same in the States or or anywhere else, but I think they're generally given safeguarding courses currently. So in the safeguarding courses, they're taught to maybe spot certain things, but I think it's more to do with the kind of the protection of youths, sort of protecting them from, signs of abuse and neglect, things like that. But yeah, I think maybe giving them more information to that arsenal to be able to educate the kids to, encourage a little bit of a how are you doing and a how are you doing really at the beginning of a class, just to get them used to experiencing that. And how do you feel about the class at the end of a class? How are you coping? How was your homework? How are you managing? Are you worried about getting your homework done? I mean, problem is there's a lot of teenagers are just like, they don't want to really share that because obviously basically the stigmas and things that we experience as adults are probably amplified tenfold at that age. So a stigma, an embarrassment that we'll feel at 41 is probably amplified 10 times to a kid who's 14 and 15. So it's kind of even more of a barrier that they have to push through, because the making that finding that place in the social environment that they're in and amongst the other kids is crucial at that age. The brain is really trying to figure out, and the brain actually, for example, for females, and as a non-female, I know I'll be careful. So just jump in, just do jump in though. But obviously from the you know, the many years ago, when we sort of lived in the, you know, hunter-gatherer age, the females, it was very important for them to protect the young and to form a really have that really strong community bond formed, because it, you know, there was strength in numbers, and it helped protect the young, and it formed this really strong community. And this genetical is the right word, I don't know, but this need has continued to today's age, to the extent that when a person of, you know, for a girl of 14 and 15 is excluded from a group, which could be by bullying, or it could be, you know, or maybe she's just getting picked on, or maybe it's like, oh, I don't like that your hair, or I don't like the shirt that you're wearing, or something like that, or a boy will pick on her, and she feels that excluding. Well, the brain has evolved to actually, in a way, kind of punish the girl to encourage her to form a stronger bond. So it kind of releases, I don't know if it's a depression hormone, but it releases a kind of hormone that makes the girl feel bad, but also encouraged to do something about it to make that bond stronger. And that is how crucial it is. And for boys, that doesn't affect them as much, because the boys are kind of more, they've naturally evolved to be more of a kind of a loner. So that exclusion doesn't affect them quite in the same way, even though they'll go through the bad moods and things. But that is like how it is amplified so much, because that is the age where your brain is physically learning how to become a part of a group, and how like everything is amplified. Stigmas are like amplified, and being bullied is like the effects. If someone was bullying me at 41, I know I'd be pretty ticked off, but at 14 and 15, that is like amplified 10-20 times. And so what they're going through, plus it's experience relative to age as well. So I've seen a lot at 41. I've crashed cars and had all sorts of stuff happen. At 15, you know, if you've had a healthy upbringing, you kind of haven't really had much bad happen, really. So being bullied is more of a big deal. So I think that awareness of that, so we can train teachers to provide information about what's going on, might help. I do waffle on, don't I? Just
Right, just going to take a quick break, because we're coming up to the hour. We've been at this an hour. It's flown by. Where's that gone? Where's the last hour gone? Just like to say hi, Sylvia, for clicking the like. Right, going to do a quick bit of housekeeping. So 1st of September, we've got a rugby special coming up. We're going to talk about regimental rugby, and we're also going to talk about the upcoming Premiership season. And I'm hopefully going to get some experts in, and we'll have a parlay about that. We'll have a couple of hours talking about rugby. The 8th of September, archaeological special. That's going to be a fascinating one. You don't want to miss that. Pop it in your diary. Thursday, 7 till 9, British summertime, and then the big one at the end of September is veterans' mental health, and we're going to try and focus in on our next subject, but we're going to do that one on there. So that's what we've got coming up. So if you can click the old like button, let us know you're here. pop a question in the chat box to let us know that you've got a question. And our next subject that we're going to spend a bit of time looking at is something that I think most of us have experienced at some stage in our lives. So we're going to look at suicide awareness, and the effects of suicide on others. So that's the next set of questions. I know it's a tough subject. I know it's going to be a difficult one. I certainly might. I might get a bit emotional. Anyway, we'll worry about that as we go through. That's what we're going to look at. Okay, we're just going to try and identify signs and symptoms of people that aren't feeling particularly well, and they're looking at maybe doing something daft. So, suicide awareness. Do you want me to kick it off?
Yeah.
I've made some notes on this one. Some years ago, I lost my best mate to suicide. He took his own life. Somebody that is determined to take their own life, you don't see an awful lot. You don't see the signs. You don't see the symptoms. And with him, the couple of months leading up to him taking his life, he was did a couple of things out of character. He popped up and come up and saw my wife and I at the time. He was my best mate. I mean, we were on the phone. We'd ring each other probably about half a dozen times a week. We'd have jokes. They'd come up to us for the weekends, and we used to go away on holiday and all sorts of stuff together. He just popping out of the blue. I mean, I'd only spoken to him a few hours beforehand, and all of a sudden he's on the doorstep. Hello, how you doing? And he'd have a coffee and then piss off again. But unbeknown to us, he was popping round seeing other friends, just calling in, and we think that it was to say goodbye. But we just didn't see the signs because there were different friends that we didn't connect with. Now the problem, or some issues that happened after he'd taken his life, was that the family, the impact that it had on the family, particularly the children. So I'm godparents to the children, and now I'm stepdad to the kids, because I won't go to that story. But just a few weeks ago, the youngest son came out. It came out in conversation, because we do talk about him occasionally, and he carried this all these years. It's 2005 this happened, and he carried it to this day, that he thought it was his fault that his dad had taken his life. So that's difficult to deal with at the time. And it's even more difficult to deal with it now, because it wasn't his fault at all. But he's carried that all these years, and it's only now he's been able to let it out. And yes, it's selfish, somebody that takes their life, but there's a reason for them doing it, and not everybody knows the reason why they've done it. And we're all capable of doing it. We've all had those dark thoughts at some stage in our life. And it's the effect that it has on those that are left behind, and the recriminations that go on, the accusations, and And the feelings that are those that are left behind are affected the most, and those closest to them are affected even more. So the person that is determined to take their life, you probably won't know. You won't recognise the symptoms or anything like that. If they're determined to do it, they will do it. The people that we can save are the people that it's a cry for help. And those people are the ones that we need to stretch out for. Now, I was talking to a mate earlier, and he just put a comment in the chat box here. And just have a read of that. He spent last night with a neighbour that was having a breakdown. So that's somebody that's having a cry for help.
Mm-hmm.
That's somebody that can be helped. Sorry about that.
Okay, first off, can I say please don't apologize? I actually want to give you credit, Tim, because thank you for sharing, and thank you for bringing this topic to the forefront, because to take it back to your very first question, how do we change the stigmas and the stories? We do exactly what we're doing right now. So
Yeah.
it's all you're doing is showing heart, and I really want to give you credit for opening up this door. I really do. It's a tough topic for everybody. Our family was definitely closely affected by this, and it was hard as an understatement. It was very much. It was like how do we handle this, and what do we do? I think that, and I can just speak on a couple of things, that it may seem and feel selfish because so many people are hurt in the long run. In the eyes of the person who is at this point in their life, they feel, I think this is generalization, but this is just from experience, they feel that it's not worth it for them to be around. They are affecting their family in a way that they don't want to do that. And it will never make sense to us, because if a person is at the point of taking their life, that there's not, we can't apply logic to something that doesn't make sense to us. So unfortunately, I don't think that there is going to be something that makes sense there. The impact that it has on the family, though, I had a very close family of ours. They lost their oldest son, and he was he's a police sergeant. He did it was never on anyone's radar. It wasn't even close to the radar. And in this position, he was the one responsible for looking at the mental health of all of his officers. Nobody thought to look at the actual sergeants who were doing it completely. He's left kids. Caught them all completely off guard. The stigma the family continued to go through afterwards, I think we can do better as humans. I think that we can do a lot better. I think that was actually, it's like they've gone through loss multiple times over. And I just think that's a horrific thing for us to do to other humans who have experienced something like that. So I think that we have to be better at not putting people through that. And in reference to your friend, the son, as you're saying, he carried it for that long. Part of the communication, I think that when things like this happen, is having those open communications. Yes, I'm sure if I were to say to a young child, your dad didn't do this because of you, he might not believe that, but maybe opening up those conversations early. And even if it's not opened up early, at least now, it's great that he can have that open conversation with you. I think that that's fantastic. I think that's a huge start. So I have more, but I'm going to leave it at that and see what everyone else has to say.
Well, at a time, for the kids, after it happened, very quickly there was a team that came in called CAMS. I'm not quite sure what they what the acronym is, but it's bereavement counselling for the kids, and once they've established that they're all right, then that's it. They're gone out of it. And there's no real follow up at all, and there hasn't been any follow up in the intervening years from then till now. And it's only came up in a conversation that it happened. So but at the time there was a lot of speculation, a lot of things going on around what had happened, and people speculating and pointing the finger and blaming other people for what had happened. And it really wasn't anybody else's fault. It was what was going on inside his head. I mean, we can speculate a few things. I mean, I think, if I'm right, he'd recently been diagnosed with, I think it was testicular cancer, which I think probably had a major effect. Or he certainly had a scare, and that may have been a contributing factor. But we'll never know, not until we get up to the pearly gates and have a word. And at the time, my late wife, I mean, she died a year and a day before him, or after him. He died on the 11th of November 2015, and Sandra died on the 10th of November 2006, so 5 and 6. So November's a pretty tough month for both Ro and I, who we've been married now for 12 years, and we've known each other for the last 40 years, so we're comfortable with each other, and we can have that conversation. We talk about them regularly. But at the time, it was a real challenging time, and every November's a challenging time. It gets slightly easier as the years go on, but for us, it's still there. There's still that element of blame. There's still that element, could we have done something? And that's the big one. Could we have done something? And if we had, would he have still been here? But that I guess is like so many stories, and at the moment it's not being highlighted enough that there are so many veterans taking their own lives at the moment, every day. You don't. It's not hitting the mainstream media. The mainstream media, I've stopped watching it. It makes me so angry. But it's only the smaller stations that are highlighting these problems, and until we get this out in the open, and we put in place systems where people know that if they're struggling with that and they've got those thoughts, there are places, there are people that can help. And like I say, the people that you do find that are trying it somewhere out in the open somewhere, where they're going to be found, it's a cry for help. The ones that are going to do it anyway, you're not going to capture. So, sorry to be so gloomy. Normally we have such fun.
No need to apologize.
I think
But,
it's
Not
it all.
but yeah, let's lighten it up a bit. Let's find a way through this. Let's find a way of being able to bring this to the forefront of people's attention. Let's destigmatise people that are having these thoughts and attempting to take their lives, because there are a lot more. There's a lot more going on than meets the eye.
You're really amen to that. And you're really bringing it all very full circle in the fact that it comes back to destigmatizing mental health and the conversation that goes around it, and the ability to find the resources that you need before and during and after any kind of a mental storm that you're going through, being able to talk and connect with one another and let each other know that we really care and that we want to be there. Like Nick being able to be there for a friend and spend that time with them. The friend was able to find a resource in Nick and be able to give that, and they knew that Nick was a safe space in that moment. So destigmatizing it, opening up the conversation, letting our kids know that it's okay to talk about it, being able to talk about grief in and of itself, because grief comes in a myriad of forms and it does not stop the day after the funeral. It goes on for years and years and years and years. And so being able to talk about, oh my gosh, this is how I'm feeling, and today I'm fine, but tomorrow I'm an absolute wreck and I don't know what to do. It's all a part of these same conversations, but people don't talk about them. Even I'm a huge advocate on end of life planning, and because you just never know when something's going to happen, whether you lose a loved one suddenly from like a drunk driver on the road, or an immediate health crisis, whatever that is. You never know when you're going to lose somebody. And so I am constantly telling people, end of life planning, let's stop making this a taboo subject where people are like, that's morbid and weird. No, let's bring it all out of obscurity. Let's start having those conversations so that when things happen, we know what to do and we know how to help and support each other. We know how to nurture through it. And it all starts with, let's talk about our feelings. Let's talk about where we're at. Let's talk about what we want. We're just full circle. Once again, where do we start? Ground level.
Well, funny you mentioned ground level. Harry fell off the roof the other day and found ground level at the bottom, and he didn't survive it. And we've got his funeral on the 24th of this month.
I am so sorry.
That's all right. we actually have had quite a laugh about it. I mean, the hottest day of the year, and he's up on the roof, hosing off his solar panels, and as far as we can work out, his tripped, fell, hit the bottom, and the funny part about it, there was an ambulance across the road having their lunch, and they had to call it in to be able to attend it. The air ambulance came in. Apparently they worked on him for about 45 minutes to no avail. But it's sudden death like that is a challenge to deal with. Mm-hmm. When somebody dies and they've had a prolonged illness, it's slightly easier to deal with. A sudden death is hard to. I mean, it's a shock to everybody.
Absolutely.
So being able to talk to the family about it. And it's further down the road. Everybody, so this period in time, people are bringing flowers, cards, and then swarming around like bees around a honey pot. It's 2 or 3 months. It's 10 months. It's a year. It's a couple of years down the line. Yeah, are they still going to be doing that? That's when you need to be friends, and that's what friends are all about. And we've had that over the years, so we've got friends. And say Harry was one of those friends. And Harry and I have been mates for about 47 years, maybe something like that. But we were mates together, and we were actually on a Saturday. This happened on a Tuesday. On a Saturday night, we were going to a Talavera dinner. We were going to a top table dinner, and Harry and Kath were going to come with us. We went anyway because why wouldn't we? We paid for the tickets, but Harry would have wanted us to do it anyway. And his daughter-in-law's birthday was on the Thursday, and I don't know, ship's catch turned up. And they went to Harry Potter World up at Leavesden. And life goes on. When somebody's gone, the living has to carry on living, and it's important that does happen, and we're going to celebrate his life. At the funeral, I think he's actually he's going to be in a minion suit. He loved his minions and he loved Harry Potter, so he's going to be dressed up as a minion.
Wow.
And everybody's going to be. I think there's one or two others dressing as a minions as well, but it was bright colours and stuff like that. So they'd already had a conversation about funerals and one thing and another, and so it's going to be a celebration of his life.
Yeah.
So we did a Harry special a couple of weeks ago, remembering that week that it happened, and his daughter and wife came on, and we had such a laugh. So anybody's not seen that episode, pop back and have a look. I think it was the fourth? It was quite a good episode. We had lots of people in, and we had lots of people popping in and out, wishing us best and all the rest of it for Harry. So it's a celebration of a life. It's not mourning a loss, and I think that's important to go forward and to look after those that are left.
Mm-hmm.
And it's exactly the same for anybody that has taken a different route and has taken their life, and it's important to do exactly the same to them, exactly the same, because whether it's been an accident, whether it's been a prolonged illness, or whether it's been a suicide, they've had the life, and it's part of them, and it's why we should destigmatise it, why we should talk about it, and keep it out there.
Yeah.
I think it's important that life, like you say, Tim, life it doesn't stop with your life. Life, life is a thing, and in a way, I think it helps to remember that we're actually all connected, and everything we do is affecting everybody else. And like I say, life, even though our life ends in whatever way, life continues, and it's kind of, I think sometimes we make it very sort of cellular and final with ourselves, and we forget that life is actually something that is continuing and is connected. Like I say, I think the Dalai Lama says like the 8 billion or the 7.8 billion. It's all about the mass of life that we are. I just wanted to address something Nick said about the mental health services at the minute. In the UK, on average, after registering that you need mental health attention, the average waiting time can be up to 45 days to see somebody in the UK. A lot can happen in 45 days. And so there's a big push to try and see why that is the way that is. I know that there's a lot of healthcare departments also that are suffering lag, but for mental health problem, you can get to a really dark place, and to be told in a letter, a very formal, impersonal letter, that your appointment for seeing someone is in 45 days' time, it can be enough to tip you over the edge in itself. I would imagine, like, so much can happen. So yes, I totally agree that the mental health services in this country certainly isn't anywhere near where it needs to be at the moment. The other thing, I think, when you talked about, Tim, the gloominess, I think sometimes I like the expression that you need to be in a dark place to see the light, and this kind of means that you need to kind of allow yourself to be there so that you can see the light and then get yourself out of it. I think asking all of what could have been done differently. I've been there myself with the what could have been done differently, and I think it's rather than finding an answer to their question, I think it's more to do with finding peace with the question and just letting it be what it is, rather than having the answer. And yeah, the end of life planning that Crystal was talking about, it all again is related to life doesn't stop with life. It's how do we recognize that everything we do is connected, and life continues just after this body is just a sack of meat essentially, and it's serving its purpose. It's more beautiful than that. I'm kind of being funny with it, but not aesthetically, but you know what I mean. The human is beautiful, is what I'm saying. I'm just thinking how I just heard that how it sounded when I said it back to myself. I was like, oh God, Chris, get over yourself, Chris.
Gorgeous. I mean, underneath this gorgeous exterior, there's a bit of a train wreck going on.
Fabulous.
But I am gorgeous.
Yes, but the human is a beautiful thing. It's not just a sack. But you know what I mean. So after life does continue.
It's the single biggest guarantee that we've all got in life. We will all die one day.
It will affect all of us.
And that's everybody. We won't necessarily pay taxes. Well, some of us still do, getting a pension. They're taking a pension in tax. But we will all die, whether you pay taxes or not. So that's a guarantee. That's the only guarantee that you'll ever get, is that one day it will all end for you. And it's those that are left behind that have to carry on. And so
can I share one thing? Can I
Yeah.
share one thing? I was trying to figure out the best way to share this, but I know it will help somebody. Is that if you, and even as Nick is questioning there, when you have somebody close to you and this is something you're experiencing directly, it's like leaving the lines of communication open that are not judgment, which is exactly what you're doing. I have a standing open agreement that it's like, if my phone rings and it's this person, I know if they need help, they can come. No questions, no judgment, nothing there. But one of the conversations that we've had that not everybody will understand, and is just that I can't control what they choose to do. It is not mine to own, as hard as that is. And that I will walk beside, I'll support in any way, shape, or form. But it's actually come down to a very open conversation, because this is something that we have experienced, is that if this is a choice that you make, that is your choice. And I will be sad. I will miss you, but I can't carry that. I will know that I've done everything that I can. And it led into such an open conversation that I'm so glad it went that direction. And I think that that's important, is again, like, how real and open can we be about the difficult topics? And it really did open this up. So there have been a number of times since then where my phone has rang or a message has come in and said, I need some help. And I'm like, okay, all right, what can I do? And so just normalizing it, opening the doors, and maybe as humans, like, we don't have to come in, fix, swoop, change the day, do everything. Sometimes we just have to be there, and without a whole lot of questions or expectations involved. But I do know that has made a difference in our situation.
And I think that's an important point, is you don't necessarily need to do anything.
No.
You just have to let the person know that you are there for them. And if they do make that call, make sure you've got the time, or just drop everything else. Nothing else matters other than giving that person your time to make them feel at least better about themselves. Make them feel that they are wanted, that they will be missed. And I think that's another key issue that we need to take. And I also think that we are sat on top of a volcano at the moment. I think we are on a precipice. I think we are going to see in the not too distant future a huge amount of mental health issues coming our way, and a lot of that is down to that pandemic and the responses to it and the way that it was handled. And it's not just the UK; it's across, particularly the Western world, that has been locked down and unable to have a normal sort of life. And I think the mental health problems that people have suffered through that pandemic are just going to get worse. And I think we haven't seen the worst of it yet on the mental health front. And I think there will be a lot more suicides to come, and a lot more people are going to be struggling. And I think it's down to everybody to get a word out there that we need to do something more to be there for people that are struggling.
I sadly I agree. I wish I didn't, but I do totally agree. I think that this is almost like a pandemic in itself that we have not talked about that is coming. And I think something that you just said sparked something for me that yes, we want to be able to provide help for people who are experiencing those at that point in time. I think we also need to be providing support for families, for recognizing signs, because it's a very isolating experience for everyone. Like, you want to talk stigma, the stigma goes all the way across, and it's all of a sudden so many people are struggling in shame. And so I think that the more we can continue to open up conversations like we're having now, we know this is a difficult conversation, but we're all doing it. And I think it's so important. And again, I thank you for opening up this door. I think that I wish it had been a little bit more normalized or not so stigmatized as we were going through this. It just was not. It was not. Instead, it was very much the answers of, why don't you do something? I'm like, I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know what to do. So it's if we can support families at the same time and help them, then that might help them with their families. Not that they're going to fix something that they can't fix, but it's just that support across the board can go a long ways.
Yeah. I think it's just letting people know that it's okay to not be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that if they need that help, you're there for them. And if they do ask for that help, just make sure that you drop everything, and it might just be sitting down for half an hour with a cup of coffee and letting them unload. And just say, that's fine. Just give them that encouragement that it's okay for that. And if we all do that, and we can all bring this subject out in the open, it's for so long it's been a taboo. It's been one of those taboo subjects. It's like talking about death. It's a taboo subject. People don't like talking about it. It's the one thing that we're all going to do one day, and nobody wants to talk about it.
There's so many things. My brain is like on fire right now, and I want to contribute on so many different levels. And I know I'm going to forget over half of the things that I really want to say. One of them is, the really sad thing is that as long as people are comfortable, there will not be any change. It is when people are really uncomfortable that things start to change. And if you want change, we're going to get really uncomfortable before that happens. There are going to be a lot more conversations like this where people are like, this shit is wrong and it needs attention and we've got to do something different. It will not happen until people are unbelievably uncomfortable. Nick, I want to respond to your, if you break a leg, you go to the hospital. Why is it that mental health is so stigmatized? The thing is that when you break a leg, when you break an arm, when you fall and hit your head, it's a visible injury. People see that and they're like, oh, I see that. Let me help take care of you. Let me support you. Let me give you what you need. Let me bring food in. You just had a baby and you can't really feed all your family, whatever it is, but it's visible. It is something people can see. It is an ailment that you are now differently abled in some way, shape, or form, and you need assistance and support. Mental health is not like that. It is invisible. It is invisible because we don't talk about it, because we don't step up, because we don't verbalize it, because we can't, because it's stigmatized, it's hidden, and it's by its very nature, it is hidden inside the storms of our mind. So why is it stigmatized? It's hidden. We need to bring it out of hiding by talking about it, just like we're doing right here in this moment together. And I fully agree with you. The best thing, the most valuable thing that you can give anybody in that moment is time.
Yeah. I'd just like to ask everybody that's watching this to share it, to get that message out there. Share it on your social media. Let other people know that what we've talked about tonight, it's okay to have this discussion. And it's very, very, very important, because we are, you think the COVID was a crisis, you think that was a pandemic, I think you're going to see a mental health crisis coming our way, and it's going to be a tsunami because of that lockdown. I just want to say hi to James. James is coming in with some really real stuff here. I had a chat with James a little while ago. He's a great guy.
I just talked to James yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, James.
Did you tell him we was coming on here tonight?
No, I didn't. I was just on his show yesterday. He was on mine last month.
He's a great guy. I was on his show a little while ago, and he was on mine. So I think his episode just come out a week or so ago. So, yeah. James is in this caper the same as us. I mean, he's on the same mindset of getting this out there. So, thanks for being there, James. Don't forget to click the like button and subscribe. And anybody else that's out there, click that like button. Let's put the care button up, put the love button up, and just share it. Just get the message out there, because the more people that are sharing this message, the more people are going to destigmatise it, and that's one of the key messages that we're trying to get out there. That everybody has a mental health issue at some stage in their life, and it's how it's dealt with at the time. So many people just bottle it up and bottle it up and bottle it up, and then all of a sudden one day they jumped in front of a bus, or they leapt in front of a train, or you find them hanging in their garage, or so. And that's because they haven't been able to talk about it, because it's been stigmatised for so long. And thanks, Richard. It's nice to know that people are still out there. We've still got lots of people listening, I think. So it's really important that we push this message out there. I know the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge is one of their big things is looking at mental health, and I think if they're on board with it, then it's good that we're all doing it and supporting them. Or is it the other way around? They're supporting us. We are the people that really matter. It's okay for a big celebrity to say yes, this and that, and mental health's fine, but it's the ordinary people. It's the people like us that have to do the hard work of destigmatising this problem that we're going to be facing, and we've all been down that road at some stage. We've all had dark moments, and I defy anybody that hasn't. So we all know it's there, it's like dying. We all know we're going to die one day, but why do we find it so difficult to talk about death? Why do we find it so difficult to talk about a mental health problem that we've got?
If you
so
look,
there you go. That's a
yeah.
jump off the soapbox.
Yeah. if you look,
James
I was
put something else here.
sorry,
What's he put? Oh, thanks, James. I think you're pretty cool yourself. Oh dear, I'm starting to fall to bits now. Well, we got about 20 minutes left of the show, and I think we've gone dark enough for a while. So I think we should finish on a bit of a high. Let's have a bit of a giggle. Let's talk about some funny stuff. let's give everybody a boost instead of sort of leaving anybody depressed and yeah, we don't want to cause problems.
Well, we can turn it positive.
Absolutely, there. Let's go positive.
Yeah. So, like say, responding to Tony's coffee house, a very hard subject needs to be talked about. Let's make it an easy subject.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so easy to talk about it. We've been talking about it for the last hour.
This is how easy it is.
Minutes.
Yeah. Look at how easy it is because we're doing it. The inevitable wake up call that you talk about, Tim. This precipice. We can have faith that we are gonna. This is the maybe like I say, it's good. There's going to be discomfort, but maybe this is the great thing that is going to bring us all together. Yeah, maybe have that faith that this is the moment when, as the 8 billion, we're going to start coming together, and you can see that unrest, and there's a shake up happening, and you kind of you can have hope in that. You don't have to have despair in that. You can think that here it comes. We can and let's have if we hit this precipice with the positive light, there's only good things really can happen with that. And before I forget, there was this quote kept coming to mind all the way through, and it's a quote that's really appropriate, and it's from Simone Weil, and the quote is, "Attention is the purest form of generosity." Mm-hmm. And if you just think about that and let that phrase do its work, yeah, attention is the purest form of generosity. The most generous thing you can do in its most purest form is to pay attention. And I think that is kind of at the heart of everything that we're talking about, really. I love it. It's one of my favourites. So yeah, there's my positive message for now.
Wicked. So
That's the crowning quote. We're done. Good job.
now what we're going to do? You just kind of finish the show.
Well, it's still we could still be. We've now got fun time, haven't we? We've got the.
We have,
yeah.
So let's finish on some high notes. Let's get away from the sort of doom and gloom. We all accept that we all need to highlight that not being okay is okay.
Mm-hmm.
Suicide, MASH. You seen this film MASH? Suicide is painless. Do, 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 do. There you go. Did you the actual film, the film MASH?
I haven't seen it.
There's a sequence in there that one of the doctors is so depressed and I forget exactly how it happened, but this song's playing and they're all gathered round and he's looking at suicide and he's like laying in the coffin and I forget it, and that's the song that's playing. Suicide is painless. Da, 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 da. You didn't know I could sing, did you?
So many
you still
talents.
don't.
Right? You told me you couldn't sing, but you have now sung on our podcast and in person. So I'm thinking there's
Yeah, I
more
know.
going on here.
I've got another song to do tomorrow. Tomorrow's. I don't know whether I should be sharing this. Okay, this. I'm. What's,
Final directions. You know, I recently went to a celebration of life for a dear friend who passed, and her life partner got up and he said, "Okay, guys, listen, she wouldn't want us crying. She was one who loved life, and she believed that the reason we are here is to love one another. So what I want to happen is anytime I get emotional and I can't get through it, I just want everyone to cheer for me, cheer me on."
Oh,
So every time he paused and we could tell he was emotional, it was this huge cheer that went up. Everyone was clapping,
Brilliant.
hooting and hollering, cheering him on, saying, "You've got this, Dave. You can do this." And then he was able to talk again and move on because he was reminded of her. And we did it for her kids, both of her kids, and everyone who spoke. And then her favorite thing was watermelon. So we had watermelon at this. It was just this sweet tribute. It was this moment where we all got to literally celebrate this life in a beautiful up moment and look at it as a life does continue going on and we are left behind, and yet we want to find the joy in the moment that's here. That was hers, and her essence has moved on, and yet we get to carry a piece of her essence forward and live life remembering we're here because of love. We're here to love and support each other. So
how
Catherine,
right
that's a
you are,
very
Catherine.
deep statement.
I love that. I love the cheering on.
And that is so true as well. It's not painless. It just moves the pain onto others, and I can vouch for that. Definitely vouch for that. Thank you, Catherine, for sharing that.
I always found that themes.
Catherine is Harry's wife.
Oh,
So yeah,
Sorry
we're
for
going to be
your
together.
loss.
Gonna be together in a couple of weeks.
I always found that song rather odd. I loved the show MASH. I watched the TV show as it was in syndicate and really enjoyed it. And when I found out what the words to that theme song were, I was a little put off and frustrated because I really liked the tune, but I didn't like the words that go with it, because it is, we're left behind saying, now what? Where do we go? How do we survive? How do we move on without this person that was such a huge part of our life? And the way that we move on is remembering them, honoring them, because we're not ever going to forget them. We have to remember that. We have to honor and respect that. And talking about them keeps them alive. And we keep living for the next day because we are still here and there's still something that we can do. We can be that voice piece saying, I was left behind and I'm really upset about that. And I want to ensure that other people don't go through it. So I'm going to add my voice to the voice of others that let's change this conversation. Let's open it up. Let's make it easier and lighter and more approachable for everyone.
So Nick's just come up with something. I've left instructions when I die on Arthur Church.
Trickster.
Yeah.
And James has popped something else in. Look. I've got a wand and everything. I'm honest, I've got a wand. Hold it there. Hold it there.
He's got a
Back in
wand.
a second.
Yeah.
Harry Potter.
Do you start calling in Timbledore?
Here's me wand.
Very
And
good.
what's the
Magic.
core? What's the core of
What's
your
that?
wand?
Phoenix.
of course.
Pliable. Very, very powerful.
I'll keep my distance.
And I don't use abracadabra either.
Nice.
Very good.
I'd like to thank everybody for apparating here tonight. So we're all in a different room in Heale Manor. Blimey.
This has just been a really great conversation, and I am really grateful to have been a part of it, to be asked to be here today and just chat with you, beautiful people, Marcia and Chris, and all of you who have been chatting and commenting. I just thank you, Tim, for bringing us together and letting us talk about some subjects that really need more visibility and more words, just more.
100%.
Well, that's because I brought the magic. Just like James said, I brought the magic. And I'm looking at doing more of these type of specials because I feel really passionate about this subject.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a veteran, so that's and having seen lots and lots of my mates lost them over the years, it's really important that we try and save everyone that we can. Mm-hmm. Anyway, what I was saying before. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I'm not sure whether I should say this, but I'm taking part in Leader. I don't know whether you heard of Leader. It's live every day in August, and it's a closed Facebook group that's run by Pod Pros, and I've got my live to do a little bit after this because I haven't done it today. I wanted to see how this went to be able to do my live, and today's mission, should you choose to accept it, is all to be not vain and talk about yourself and what positivity that you bring, and just big yourself up. So I think I'm going to have quite some fun with this one tonight. And it's been a real challenge because they've gone in really covering some really deep subjects about yourself, and it's all this whole process that we're going through is it's giving you a better presence on screen. It's giving you more confidence to be on screen live. It's all about doing live shows. Mm-hmm. I think I've half cracked it. I don't know what you guys think. I think I'm doing all right. I'm not rubbish at it, but I could improve. And every day's a school day. So.
And you're remembering to mute your mic.
Oh, don't. Oh, why did you have to do that?
Because you're getting better. You're improving.
Yeah, it was just a reminder. That's all.
Yeah, it was only about 3.5 minutes today.
What was it, last week?
4.
Oh, was it? Oh, that's a personal best.
He's improving.
Yeah. We've got a PB going.
PB 3.5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
beautiful.
What's this? So we're coming to the end of the show. We've only got about a few minutes left, about 10 minutes left. I mean, we could go all night. We could go on and on and on. I mean, it's such a big subject that we need to highlight, and it's thanks to you guys for coming on and helping me out. It's always a bit of a concern. It's not a worry because there's no point in worrying. I have this theory about worry. There's no point in worrying if you can do something about it. If you can't do anything about it, there's no point in worrying about it. So it's always a little bit of a concern on a Thursday, around about 5 to 7, when I've got nobody sat in the green room. And I'm thinking, I've got 2 hours. How am I going to get through 2 hours? What am I going to waffle about tonight? Can I keep going for 2 hours? I have done in the past. It's a nightmare. But, I mean, Harry used to come to my aid most weeks when he wasn't falling asleep in front of the telly. So what I'd like to put out there, I'm looking for a co-host to come on the Thursdays, and maybe just a guest co-host once in a while, and maybe a co-host every week. So if you're up for being a co-host, maybe just once a month or something like that. Then I'm looking for a co-host for the Thursday live stream, and as you can see, we have a varied number of topics that we talk about. Some we have serious topics, some we have not so serious topics, and some we just talk about rubbish.
One person's rubbish is another person's treasure.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Nice.
So, oh look, it just turned up. We fireman from Germany. We served together years ago, Tim and I. And he's now a fireman in northern Germany, right up on the border with the Danes, and his jurisdiction goes across the border. So if he has a fire one place, he'll go across and help and fight it. He was going to come on last week, but he was attending a massive, great big fire, big forest fire. So he let me down and went firefighting instead.
Important.
Yeah, important. Put the fire out, I guess.
Yeah.
Priorities.
But there's fires all over the place at the moment. Alles über the Platz, as they say in Germany. And it's just one of those things that you get lovely weather like this, and then you've got the BBC over here. I don't know whether you get the BBC where you are, but the BBC are calling it a crisis and this. I mean, everybody's going to die. I mean, you even got the weather people now sort of putting in their two pennyworth about the doom and gloom of it all. But yeah. So, what we're talking about? Where we're getting to? I'm rambling. I'm waffling again. I'm filling.
I will fill if you want. I'll fill one. I'm gonna speak on and piggyback on what Crystal was saying, and just honestly thank you for the time space. It was great to connect and meet. All of you have another conversation again, Tim. I think we're having another one very soon. Yeah, so it's honestly the only way. This is the only way. It's not going to be a one and done having conversations like this that make a change. It's continuing the conversations, and that's one of the things I think that when, I don't know, like for us, it's like Bell Let's Talk Day. We have it once a year and everybody's like, see, we're doing a great job. I'm like, it's one day out of 365. Yes, it's a step, but it's a blip. We have to do more and normalizing conversations. And I think bringing people together to do things like this, to have the uncomfortable conversations where we can all grow and help each other is really important. So I thank you for having me as part of it today.
And I just wanted to second my own appreciation and gratitude for having met you all again. Well, again, Tim and Crystal and Masha for the first time. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Well, you know how to get hold of Crystal and Masha, don't you?
Podcast.
Same way I got hold of you.
Oh, the pod match.
Pod match.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
There we go. I'm having a 3-week holiday at the moment on my Calendly. I'm just enjoying a lovely break, so I've got another couple of weeks left.
That's wonderful.
before that. Well, the perfect subject for this topic actually, because I noticed and it was hitting a bit of burnout, and I thought, right, I need to do something about this and and sometimes one of the big things that gets in the way is that this we get convinced that we're letting people down if we have a bit of time off, which you're not. Just have a bit of time. You're letting people down more. Well, you're not letting people down ever, but you're not able to do anywhere near as much if you don't have a break, and then you do burn out. So, yeah, no, you're never letting anyone down. It doesn't exist. We just get confused. That's all.
Well, I've got this plan. You see, I've got this bit of a plan. I'm off on holiday. The second half of September, and with these live streams, it's kind of consistency that keeps your audience engaged. So the plan I've got is if I can't manage to get on while I'm on holiday, because I'm somewhere I ain't got a signal or something like that, I'm going to have a couple of Thirsty Thursday live streams pre-recorded in the bag to pop up. So I might be coming round, and we might have a bit more of a chat and continue the conversation, and maybe come up with some other bits of subject. So if you're up for that, then we can do some pre-records.
Sure. Why not?
I love it. Can I say one quick thing? Sorry, Chris,
can.
I love that you said about like booking that time. And I don't know if we said that in the beginning or if I forgot, but I think it's so important to even look at your own schedule and recognize like when you are feeling the burnout, what it looks like. When I first started in business, it was like I would work and take any clients and time. And then it was like, this is not working. And so now, I mean, I even go ahead when I start to feel like, okay, I need a break. I'll go ahead on my schedule and start blocking time off, and no one can get into it. And it's so important to recognize when we need that time and space. And it only allows us to come back stronger anyways. It's not, everyone's fine. We're all podcasters. We have content galore. People can go back. Like if I'm not putting out enough content by now, there's no amount of work I can do to fix that. So I think we have to recognize that we've been giving for a long time, and there's a lot of content that's available out there. So it's our health, mental health, physical, emotional is incredibly important.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's so true. And knowing that break is there.
Pardon?
Sorry, I was just going to say, once you've set that block, knowing that it's there makes such a massive difference.
Honestly, I did it yesterday. I've looked at it and it's like, oh, it's coming. It's coming. And it's just so good. But even 2 years ago, I wouldn't have even considered doing that. Now it's like, where do I need the breaks? And how do I plan that time out accordingly? And it's the best thing I've ever done. I wish I would have understood that sooner.
Yeah.
So it's okay to rest. If you're listening, it's okay to rest. It's okay to have downtime. It's okay to like be away and not be on our phones all the time either. So yeah.
And that is another thing about looking after your own well-being.
Yep.
Is to take that time, have that break. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Well, guys, I'm just about to wrap the show up. So if you want to hang about in the green room for a few minutes after, we'll have a quick wash up.
Sure.
After I've closed the show. So how are we going to do this? So thanks very much, Chris. I'll just give you a see you soon. Marsha, thanks again for joining. Crystal, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, it's just me left, just to wash the show, just to finish the show. Well, if you've enjoyed this evening, is enjoy a word to use really? If you found the content that we've done, that we've talked about this evening, fascinating, please share it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just pop this down. Once we've done, I'm going to do a little quick edit, put a top and tail on it, and then I'll put it back up on to YouTube so it's there. Please encourage people to watch it back, because the message that we're trying to push out is it's okay to not be okay, and you need to talk about this subject. So just a final, if I can find it, reminder of what we've got coming up. Oh no, I ain't got it right ready. Where is it? It must be that one. Yes. So next one we've got coming up is we've got a rugby special on the 1st of September. That's going to be a fun evening. 8th of September, archaeological special. That's going to be another fascinating one. And then the big one at the end of September, we're looking at veterans' mental health and what we can do about the rate of suicides in our veterans and what we can do to help. So if you've enjoyed it, please share it as much as you can. It's an important message that we need to get out across the world. And, well, again, thanks.
The Tim Heale Thirsty Thursday live stream from 7 until 9 weekly. Here's your host, Tim Heale.
Thanks, everyone.